Welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honiger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honiger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. Great to have you along as usual. Before we get underway this week, just wanted to introduce or remind you of a project we're running with AgriFutures, which is around goat fibres. Again, as you probably know, it was one of my first passions was breeding Angora goats, and it's great to be back involved in the industry at a time where there's serious profitability potential out of mohair and cashmere getting organised in terms of being able to process it now, as well as mohair, which has been sent to South Africa for some time for processing. But we've got a project to advance that. Just wanted to let you know we've got a podcast that we roll out as part of that as well. It's called The Fibre Frontier, and I host that, and we talk a range of things, but some of them have definitely got applicability to other production as well as goats, or as a good opportunity to learn about some of the aspects of the goat fibre industries. And you can find that wherever you're listening to this podcast. We'll also have the Fibre Frontier. It's a project funded by the AgriFutures team and with support from the goat fibre industries of Australia. They're industries that are really looking to probably had their day in the sun back in the late 80s and then into remission for a while, but we see some serious production potential in particularly in the sort of north of Divide and areas where there's less rainfall, where they thrive a bit, but there's plenty of people doing them outside of those regions as well. But yeah, jump on and also we've got the gateway, the goat fibre gateway, which is similar to the hub in the sense that it's an opportunity to interact, to learn things, or to just download the latest information that we're developing. So yeah, Goat Fibre Gateway is a good place to start. If you Google that, you'll find that. We'll put links to that in the show notes of the show. But we'll get underway with this week's show. It's an absolute pleasure to have Bill Mitchell join us from Optiweigh. If you haven't come across Optiweigh, it's a front foot weighing system for cattle, and they're developing the same for sheep. It's a device you can chuck in the paddock and then monitor the growth of growing animals, and allows you to make timely decisions about how that herd is going, and then whether that herd should be shifted, or even individuals in that herd, what the weight profile is looking like, and should they come in and get a draft for sale or whatever you do. Lots of people using it in different ways. It's a great little tool, and Bill and his wife Jacqui started that business off in COVID, and it's going from strength to strength, as you'll hear on the podcast. So we'll get underway with that one. Welcome to Head Shepherd, Bill Mitchell.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great. And we were just talking before we started recording. You've got a bit of shepherd experience in New Zealand.
Yes, great to be on the Head Shepherd. It just reminds me of my summer spent shepherding on the Dingleburn up the side of Lake Hawea. Magnificent spot. Yeah, and I thoroughly recommend anyone out there Googling Dingleburn. There should be, surely there's something on socials. I think I actually put something up on socials of the drive in there once. It's a special place to get into. Yeah, it's a really unique spot. Indeed. Bill, we're here to talk about Optiweigh, and you and Jacqui have obviously developed that system. What was life like before Optiweigh, I guess? So you were farming there in the New England, is that right? Yes, Mark. So Jacqui and I had both done the kind of university and a bit of corporate work, and then we decided to go full-time farming and raise our kids on the farm. So we transitioned the place from a traditional superfine merino business into a cattle backgrounding and finishing, grass-fed finishing operation. So we were just busy doing that, spending an enormous amount of time in the cattle yards weighing cattle. Yeah, which is where all good innovations come from. Some either mostly displeasure, not normally pleasure, but yeah. So yeah, that's obviously where the idea spawned out of. And before we get into that, I've got the toughest question for the day is, what have you last changed your mind about? So people who know me well, Mark, would say I change my mind like the weather.
Good.
And I suppose, and I know I do, because I'm constantly trying to weigh up two sides of any decision and take on new information, and that results in a lot of change of mind. The last significant one, I reckon, was around our partnership with Accent on the methane measuring in the Optiweighs, because initially I sort of didn't dare believe that we were going to be able to make this fly, and there was a few external doubts coming at me, and some new information that we've had over the past sort of couple of months has led me to really firmly come to the belief that set up, that partnership, and the way we've structured the physical stuff is really going to work.
Yeah, excellent. And we've got Accent coming on the show sometime soon, so that'll be a nice little connection in the jigsaw piece. So yeah, that's good. The quote I like to use that frustrates my wife is strong opinions loosely held, which is the ability to change my mind is a bit of a feature of me as well. But
it's hard when there's always new bits of information coming into anything, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Bill, most innovations in ag are viewed as overnight successes, when in reality most of them are sort of a 10-year overnight success. When did the Optiweigh journey begin, and what's that journey been like so far?
Well, interestingly, it began about 10 years ago, probably almost to the month.
Yeah, right.
So the journey began in 2014 when we were weighing these cattle. We had a lot of cattle coming in and going out, and we're constantly trying to work out where they were up to. And there was walkover weighing about. Actually, I saw it first in sheep, and it was just like, how on earth do I make this work on our farm without it taking more effort than it saves?
Yeah.
And then I remember just sitting in a paddock with cattle, and they're all up around the ute licking the mirrors and going, I wonder if they'd stand on a platform if it was in the paddock.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why I even bothered to. I could tell they put 2 feet on it, and they were happy to do that. But I couldn't get them to put all 4 feet on. And I don't know why I even bothered, but I thought, well, I'll collect some 2 feet weight and take them to the yards and weigh them and see if it's any good. And just did that, and then thought, oh, yeah, that's interesting, and didn't really. It was another one of those didn't really dare to believe it type things.
Yeah.
And then found that it did look good, and then different size mobs. I'd throw my homemade little 2-foot weigher in with them every time before we were going to bring them to the yards. And then I suppose there was a couple of years before we actually started to believe it, and then Jackie and I started using it and making it part of our system. But we're just doing our stuff, and then that all changed in 2019 when we had what people who look at the numbers actually say is not a 1 in 100-year drought; it was a 1 in 1,000-year drought. So
That was amazing.
It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. Like, our historical lows were around 500 mils of rain, and we had 185.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we destocked completely. And then I've been talking to a few people, and a friend of mine, Ian McCamley up at Rollston, who said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And so with nothing to do on the farm, it was kind of the drought project. Let's make a couple of these and see if anyone wants to buy them.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, we won't dwell on that drought, but I don't think I've been around a bit and seen a few droughts, but nothing quite like driving through the New England in the end of 2019 or early 2020, I think, before COVID, when the bushfires were going. So there was a smoke haze and dust, and it was, the closest thing to hell I've ever seen anyway.
Yeah, no, we don't really do droughts very well in the New England.
No, yeah, but that was certainly anyway. Out of those times, good things come. And actually, we're talking on a podcast because of COVID when I, for the same things, locked up, not being able to travel to Australia, so I decided to start a podcast. But anyway, not quite as significant as a technology company, but anyway, it's small steps. If we do, just have a quick I guess, cooks do of the Optiweigh technology and some of the use cases. I guess just what it does, how it does it, and what it looks like for those that haven't seen it.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, it's a bit like a half a cattle crush, Mark, with a lick block up the front. It's got a tag reader just like a crush would. It's got a set of scales under a platform, and it's got a little communications. It's got a battery and a solar panel and a communications model and some wheels. And you tow it to the paddock. You stick a nice sweet dry lick in the front of it. Takes the front feet weight of the animals. Does a bit of processing on site. Sends that up to the cloud, and then you get a sample of the animals every day. And in most situations, a good enough sample to tell you where that mob's up to, what they weigh, and as such, it was just designed to, instead of getting these cattle to the yards, I'll take the Optiweigh to the cattle.
Yeah.
And that was what I did it for, and that was what a lot of people initially bought a unit for, and that allowed them. And the most obvious use case for that was, well, here I've got some cattle, I'm trying to put weight on them, get them to a certain weight for market. I don't want them to go overweight, I don't want them to go underweight, but I want to get as much weight on them as I can. And so there was a very clear value proposition that you could make better decisions around selling, put more kilos on the truck without having to be getting them in all the time and weighing them.
Yeah, excellent. So we'll keep exploring it as we go through the.
What sort of evolves from that? What sort of leads on from that is to then talk about people who started leaving it with the cattle all the time to unlock knowledge around weight gain. Nigel Karen explains that a lot better than me.
Yeah, so Nigel, obviously he's one of your fanboys for sure, and while the time this is out, he will have recently been on Head Shepherd talking about it. Obviously, you don't get every cow every time. I've sort of had a bit of a play in sheep for a different purpose, and some just don't turn up, but obviously you get enough of the mob to give you a really good indication of what's going on at the mob level, and we know that you don't need to get many of the herd in that case, to get an accurate assessment of what the average of the herd is up to.
Yeah, it's frustrating that we can't get all the animals, but we do sometimes, but not often.
Yeah,
but it's been really, really interesting to watch people sort of take that initial use case and then turn it into something more, and monitor the weight and the changes in weight day to day. And people have done it to manage their grazing rotations. They've done it to look at the different pastures and different feed types, supplementary feed types, or otherwise to look at change of feeds or just compare weight gains on different feeds. Animal health, identifying animal health issues, and we've had a lot of examples of that. We've got this really funny thing at the office where we say the most common call in, because we kind of keep in touch with people, because set of scales in a paddock, things can go wrong, and so the most common call, of course, is I've forgotten my password, I can't log in. But next to that, it's can you check my unit, please? Because these cattle aren't performing like I expect them to. They're on really good feed and they're not gaining weight, or they're not gaining as much weight, or possibly they're even losing weight. So the first thing you've got to do is go through the process of going, right, we check the reports, we're getting back on the load bars, and they look to be behaving, and we get them to check their weight, and yes, that all looks good. There's not a rock stuck under it or something. But it's so good, because then that leads into a discussion with, well, what is the reason the cattle aren't performing? And there's been some really interesting stuff unpacked, sometimes involving a vet getting called, but invariably around animal health or nutrition, but even mob size. And we had a mob, big weight range, big mob size, and losing weight, and he split them into three and kept the Optiweigh with the middle third, and they started putting weight on again.
It's intriguing. I guess that's where that's what excites me about technologies that add new information to a farming system, is that we assume we put them on we put animals on good
pasture and assume they're all going to grow. We assume they're all going to grow at the same rate and they're all going to do amazing things. But there's lots of things that we don't understand about what they're actually eating out there and how balanced that rumen is and all sorts of stuff that we just, that basically the only way that we will know that is if the animal does the talking. And then cattle, they don't do a lot of talking. They do a bit of bellowing, but their weight is the best indication of happiness.
Yeah, no, it's water quality. So we've seen that as well. With dams and when big cattle and the weight tapers off after 3 days when they've mucked up the dam.
Yeah, intriguing. I know I've seen a couple of sheep versions getting around, not early versions of, or I don't know. Yeah, anyway, that's it. How far out on the track is a sheep version of this? Is it, I assume front feet weighing works in sheep, but maybe sheep don't behave as well?
No, they're behaving pretty well, Mark. We've got a few units out there. We've got a few in production. We're just trying to we're trying to find out what we don't know at the moment. We think we're right, but we're just going through that process of just slowly getting them out so we can, we make sure it's all working before we go full pelt, and we've just got to chew through a good swag of cattle orders too and find time in production.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as well. No doubt that's a bit of a challenge. We've sheep will be interesting as well. So I guess all similar use cases really. It's monitoring those things that give us an indication that something's going wrong at mob level.
Yeah, there seems to be there's certainly a lot of interest in it. So we are behind the 8 ball on that, unfortunately, but we're doing our best.
Yeah, can't do everything at once. Yeah, I guess one of the things you would have to learn early on is what cattle like more than other stuff. Getting the attractant, it's obviously based on an attractant, the reason they turn up. Although cattle are naturally inquisitive, so that helps. But have you learnt much about what cows like to get near?
Yeah, we have. We've learnt that sweet dry licks are generally speaking the best of all. And with something that smells a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
But from there is a whole range of stuff that people use.
So obviously you started in Australia and that'll be your strongest market, but I've seen on socials that there's a few getting around. How many are out total and which sort of countries have they got to?
There's about 750 out in total now. Only about 30 units overseas, and they're kind of spread. There's a few in the UK, Canada, US, Uruguay, and a few in New Zealand. So we're just trying to find a few early adopters to prove up the use case in those markets, and then we're getting close to a point where we could decide how to take it from there in each one of those markets now, because they're going pretty well. But every market's there's different systems at play. Housed animals. New Zealand, it's all about seems to be all about the dairy heifers and getting them up to weight.
The
UK is all about dairy beef and weight gain on that. So
Well, I guess dairy heifers, you paid per kilo that you put on, then there's a definite driver to get some more, or know that you're putting kilos on, and it's pretty much bankable in that case. And be same in dairy beef here, I imagine. So you can imagine that should be plenty of a market for that at least here in New Zealand and all over the place.
I
so 750
dairy,
that.
Sorry. I just imagine dairy beef's getting pretty big in New Zealand as well, is it?
Yeah, it's been big for a long time, and it's one of those things that you put a kilo on, you get paid for the kilo kind of thing. So it's like they're sort of tradable all the way through. So it's definitely a weight game with those, and so you'd imagine that would be something that if they didn't smash the unit up, that'd be good for them. They're pretty good at wrecking stuff balls.
We've been through the process of having every cord that could be chewed has been chewed. Although I got to tell you, we did mess up a bit with our first sheep versions, because I didn't realise that sheep were that much better at getting stuff and wrecking it than cattle.
They are amazingly good at finding something to chew and annoy.
Yeah. They can get their nose in past where you can't get your fingers.
Nothing like, it's as I said, we're playing around with the camera stuff, but putting technology in a paddock is a good way to find out how sheep can wreck it. Or we did have a bull in one of our sheep paddocks once, which completely trashed our camera unit. So had a great fun with that. Yeah. So 750. That's obviously, I guess, I'm picturing you with your arc welder in the shed to build the first one. Obviously, there's been a lot of learning, a lot of you having to become quite a different, or very different business and very different skill sets than running cattle.
Yeah, and what we have to do in the business has kind of changed as it's grown too, because it's suddenly evolved from having to have a business that revolves around trying to sort of convey the fact that this system works and the value proposition to actually, now we're dealing with a lot more customers and a much bigger production schedule. So trying to keep all that going under one roof's been a hell of a learning experience.
Yeah, no doubt. No, for sure. Knowledge is power is I think it was pretty sure it was a Jefferson quote that I like to use all the time. We've sort of talked about this a bit before, but I guess talk us through some of the feedback of what you've heard that it save people time, save people money, or often made them money through using the Optiweigh systems.
Yeah, Mark. The most immediate one is getting your marketing right on the cattle and being able to not make decisions based on guesswork, and that can result in a lot of time and labour saved, but a lot of extra return as well. Knowledge around the drivers of weight gain is huge though, and it's much bigger than just getting your marketing right. And I think we've only just tapped the surface there. But the really cool thing about that, and whether it's animal health or it's supplementary feeding or pastures or whatever it is, it's the beauty of it is that there's a productivity gain, which is a financial benefit to the farm, but it's actually also translates into lower kilos of methane per kilo of meat produced. So it's directly into your environmental metrics that everyone's starting to have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. And every time you think things are going well and they're not, that's essentially just you're burning time and you're burning methane for no gain. And so it's both of those things go together. And obviously money in farming is all about velocity, getting animals through and out the gate as quick as possible at good target weights is in any grazing business. It's about doing it well. So learning those things, and I think that's the same with a lot of technology. It's kind of what you learn about your business is almost as valuable as like knowing that they're up to weight and you can bring them in and send them off is one thing. But learning that when I put them in there under these conditions, that they didn't grow last year, so I won't do that again next year, or they've probably got a parasite load that I didn't pick up. Like I know Nigel was on social media talking about that the weight drop was the immediate indication to get in there and sort some parasites out. And there's lots of those. Once you've got knowledge, once you've got information that you can act on that, or at least learn from that. And sometimes you can't act because you don't have any other paddocks to go in, or they've just got to be there and grow slowly. But at least you know that's happening. We sort of covered this briefly before, but the balance of keeping up with just getting units out the door now, with continuing to innovate even like within the cattle system, but then there's the pressure on you to get that sheep system out there. How are you keeping that balance? And is it, when balance is an overused word, it's impossible, but you're obviously having to grow your staff and trying to work out resourcing and that could be a significant challenge.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. It's still a challenge, Mark. We've been really lucky to be able to get some really great staff on board who are keeping the production side going, and that's allowed Jacqui and me to focus a lot on the kind of strategic side of the business, and we have other members of the team who are focusing on new developments as well, and the developments on the sheep side. So that's it seems to be working, and Jackie's looking after things on the home front too, while I spend a lot of time in here trying to navigate all that.
Yeah. Significant challenges, no doubt. The partnership with Accent is going to be interesting. So we will have Accent on soon, talk about their tech. But obviously, while cattle are in there licking their sweet dry lick, is that chasing methane at that point, or is that pregnancy, or what's the Accent partnership going to be?
It's methane at this stage, Mark. So the pregnancy stuff you've got to get right onto the nose, which we can't do easily voluntarily. So we're chasing the methane. The animals stand there, spend an average of 2 minutes on the unit after the lick. So there's a good amount of time, and it's really cool. You can watch the methane go up when they come in. You can see it spike when they burp. You can see it come down.
Yeah, right.
And what's been really cool is that there's been some university work done and found a very good correlation to other direct measures of methane from individual animals.
So in terms of those use cases, that's if I put them on this pasture type, methane goes up, methane goes down to help us carbon accounting, or is it maybe individual level stuff? What are you thinking in terms of where people will grab that number?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a definite research interest. And then that's probably number one. Number two, then probably is in methane inhibiting substances and directly measuring the impact of those. Then yes, different pastures, different feed types, but to me the big one is the individual animals and being able to select for those animals that emit less and put on more weight and are more efficient, environmentally friendly animals.
Yeah, and I guess even if you only get whatever percentage through, the value that there'll be, as long as that's not heritable, as long as not all the one side group don't turn up, you'll get good information across the group and enough to get good data on the side group kind of thing.
Yeah, we've played around with how to get more animals on. We built a double bay unit. It gets more animals on, but actually putting 2 single bay units in a paddock also seems to really improve it gets more than double the number of records. So.
Oh yeah, right.
So that's quite.
What's the So what is the, in terms of perfect herd size that you would recommend, or that's not a thing and just you get a proportion of whatever's there?
We don't really know yet, Mark. So we know with 50 animals we can get just about all of them with a single unit, and then through to we in a feedlot pen with 400 animals and 2 units, we got 393 of them.
Yeah, right.
So there's all sorts.
Cull that other 7.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of possibilities there, I think.
Yeah, right. So getting a high proportion. What's the standard proportion? Or is that just very much it depends?
A third in a few days to a week of the average mob size is pretty common.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How long are people typically leaving them in the paddock? I mean, you've got some that you said are you leaving there all the time, or do some people sort of dump it there for a week to work out what's going on and then move it to the next mob or next day?
There's a lot of people using them continuously.
Yeah.
We've got everything. Some just go in for a day or two and then go to another mob. But then more and more we're seeing people want to do that continuous monitoring and try and pick up more information about what's going on with the weight gains. More and more people just don't want to miss out on that information in between different waypoints.
Yeah. Excellent. So if we fast forward 10 years, what are we looking at for Optiweigh? What are your aspirations, or what's making the Olympic Games for Optiweigh look like?
I think it's an animal monitoring station, Mark. It's still got to be robust and solve all those. It's still got to be cocky friendly, farm friendly, be able to stay out in the paddock all year long. But our Optiweigh brand is about monitoring the animals automatically and remotely in the paddock.
Yeah. And
I guess it's their weight, their methane, their body condition score, probably their health status. And again, there with Accent, they're doing some really cool stuff on that side as well. and who knows what else we might want to be sticking on it.
Yeah, no, that's right. It makes a great platform as sensors evolve and stuff. Who knows what getting animals isolating a single animal to come to a spot and get assessed for stuff is there should be lots of other things that can happen. Yeah.
So I guess our core thing is that we focus a lot on making sure that we build something that's easy to use and can stay out in the paddock all year long and take those measurements, whatever they are.
Yeah. No, excellent. Well, very good, Bill. I'll let you get back to building some more units and keep those customers happy. But appreciate your time coming on today to share your experiences and share some knowledge about that technology.
No, thanks, mate. It's really, really great to be invited. Thanks. Yeah, really appreciate it.
And we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so people can if they're wondering what we're talking about, they'll be able to get on and have a look and get in touch. Thanks very much.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Thanks again to Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.